Take a moment. Just pause for a second. One day, whether we like it or not, every single one of us will die. You, me, everyone you love. And the question that quietly follows us through life is this: what actually happens when we die? Do we disappear completely? Do we go somewhere else? Or is there something, anything, that remains? Most answers to this question come from religion, belief, or tradition. But today, I want to explore a very different perspective, not from a preacher, not from a philosopher, but from a physicist. Richard Feynman was one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century. He helped explain how the universe works at its deepest level. Yet when it came to death, Feynman didn't speak with fear, he spoke with clarity. He once said he wasn't afraid of not existing anymore, not because life was meaningless, but because he truly understood what life is made of: atoms, energy, nature. Feynman didn't talk about heaven or hell. He talked about something far more certain, something far more fascinating. He reminded us that every part of your body, every cell, every atom was here long before you were born. The atoms in your body were once inside stars. They were part of oceans, mountains, trees, and other living beings, and one day they will return to the universe again. From this perspective, death is not a sudden erasing, it's a transformation. Nothing is lost, nothing is destroyed, everything simply changes form. And here's the surprising part. This idea doesn't make life feel smaller, it makes it feel more precious. Because if you are not eternal, if this moment is not guaranteed to repeat, then every breath, every choice, every curiosity suddenly matters more. Feynman's way of thinking doesn't answer every mystery about death, but it does something powerful. It removes fear and replaces it with wonder. So in this video, we're going to explore what Richard Feynman believed about death through atoms, energy, and the laws of nature, and how this scientific view can change the way you live right now. Not tomorrow, not after death, but today. Take a moment. Just pause for a second. One day, whether we like it or not, every single one of us will die. You, me, everyone you love. And the question that quietly follows us through life is this: what actually happens when we die? Do we disappear completely? Do we go somewhere else? Or is there something, anything, that remains? Most answers to this question come from religion, belief, or tradition. But today, I want to explore a very different perspective, not from a preacher, not from a philosopher, but from a physicist. Richard Feynman was one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century. He helped explain how the universe works at its deepest level. Yet when it came to death, Feynman didn't speak with fear, he spoke with clarity. He once said he wasn't afraid of not existing anymore, not because life was meaningless, but because he truly understood what life is made of: atoms, energy, nature. Feynman didn't talk about heaven or hell. He talked about something far more certain, something far more fascinating. He reminded us that every part of your body, every cell, every atom was here long before you were born. The atoms in your body were once inside stars. They were part of oceans, mountains, trees, and other living beings, and one day they will return to the universe again. From this perspective, death is not a sudden erasing, it's a transformation. Nothing is lost, nothing is destroyed, everything simply changes form. And here's the surprising part. This idea doesn't make life feel smaller, it makes it feel more precious. Because if you are not eternal, if this moment is not guaranteed to repeat, then every breath, every choice, every curiosity suddenly matters more. Feynman's way of thinking doesn't answer every mystery about death, but it does something powerful. It removes fear and replaces it with wonder. So in this video, we're going to explore what Richard Feynman believed about death through atoms, energy, and the laws of nature, and how this scientific view can change the way you live right now. Not tomorrow, not after death, but today. One of the most beautiful ideas in all of physics is also one of the simplest. Richard Feynman loved it because it was honest, precise, and impossible to escape. Energy cannot be created. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. This is not poetry. This is not belief. This is a law of nature. Everything that happens in the universe, from exploding stars to beating hearts to thoughts forming in your brain, is energy changing form. And that includes life. And yes, that includes death. When we talk about life, we often treat it as something magical and separate. But from a scientific perspective, life is a process. Life is organized energy. Your body takes energy from food, sunlight, and oxygen. It converts that energy into motion, heat, electrical signals, and chemical reactions. Your thoughts? Electrical energy. Your emotions? Chemical and electrical energy interacting. Your memories? Patterns of energy stored in physical structures inside your brain. So when we say, "I am alive," what we are really saying is, energy is flowing through me in a very specific, organized way. Now, here's the difficult part. When death happens, that organization stops. The heart no longer pumps, the brain no longer sends signals. The system we call consciousness shuts down. And many people assume that means energy disappears. But physics says otherwise. The energy that was once moving through your body does not vanish into nothingness. It goes somewhere else. Heat dissipates into the environment. Chemical energy breaks down and feeds other processes. Electrical activity ceases, but the energy behind it is conserved. From nature's perspective, nothing dramatic happens. There is no alarm, no cosmic tragedy, just transformation. Feynman was deeply comfortable with this idea because it stripped death of its mystery without stripping life of its meaning. He didn't say that you continue thinking forever. He didn't say consciousness floats away as a ghost. He said something much more grounded. You do not leave the universe. You rejoin it. The energy that once animated your body becomes part of the larger flow of nature. You are not sent somewhere else. You are redistributed. This is why Feynman never spoke about death as a punishment or reward. To him, death was not a moral event. It was a physical one. Life, in his view, was a temporary organization of matter and energy, a pattern that exists for a while, then dissolves back into the larger system. And here's something important many people misunderstand. This idea does not mean you don't matter. In fact, it means the opposite, because organization is rare. The universe is full of energy, but only in special circumstances does that energy organize itself into something that can think, wonder, and ask questions. You. The energy in your body is ancient. It has traveled across billions of years of cosmic history just to pass through this brief configuration called you. And that makes your life extraordinary, not meaningless. Feynman understood that there is no guarantee the universe will ever arrange itself in exactly the same way again. Your consciousness is not replaceable. Your perspective is not repeatable. So while the energy continues, this pattern, this moment of awareness, is precious precisely because it is temporary. That's why Feynman focused so much on curiosity, joy, and honesty, not because life is eternal, but because it is not. If energy were destroyed at death, then perhaps life would feel tragic. But if energy continues, if nothing is truly lost, then death becomes part of the same story as birth, not an ending, but a change in form. Feynman never tried to soften this with comforting illusions. He trusted people to face reality, and strangely enough, reality is kinder than fear. Because when you understand that energy never disappears, you stop seeing death as falling into nothingness. You see it as returning to the flow that made you possible in the first place. And that understanding prepares us for the next question, the one that really matters. If energy continues, but consciousness does not, how should we live while this rare pattern still exists? Richard Feynman had a deep love for one simple idea in physics, not because it was comforting, but because it was undeniably true. Energy cannot be created. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change form. This is not philosophy. This is not belief. It is one of the most tested laws in science. And once you truly understand it, it completely changes how you look at life and death. Think about what it means to be alive. Your body is constantly using energy. Energy from food becomes movement. Energy becomes heat. Energy becomes electrical signals racing through your brain. Every thought you have right now, every memory, every emotion, is energy in motion. From a scientific point of view, life is energy that has been organized. Not random energy, not chaotic energy, but energy arranged in a very precise way. So when people ask, what happens when you die? Science answers calmly. The organization stops. The heart no longer pumps. The brain no longer sends signals. Consciousness, this highly organized pattern, comes to an end. But the energy itself, it does not disappear. Physics does not allow it. The heat in your body spreads into the environment. Chemical energy breaks down and feeds other processes. The energy that once powered your thoughts returns to the natural flow of the universe. You don't go to a special place. You don't vanish into nothing. You become part of everything else. Feynman was very clear about this. He never said humans turn into ghosts. He never suggested consciousness survives as a floating soul. What he said, implicitly and explicitly, was something more grounded. You are not lost to the universe. You are redistributed within it. Nature doesn't see death as a failure. It sees it as transformation. The same energy that once moved through your body has moved through countless forms before you, and it will move through countless forms after. Stars, plants, animals, other people. From this perspective, death is not an exit, it's a return. And here's the key insight Feynman wanted people to understand. This idea does not make life meaningless, it makes it rare. Because while energy continues, this exact organization, this moment of awareness, only happens once. You are a temporary pattern in an ancient universe, and that is not something to fear, that is something to respect. So when Feynman thought about death, he didn't ask, where will I go? He asked, how amazing is it that the universe arranged itself as me, even briefly? Energy never disappears, it simply changes form. And knowing that doesn't take meaning away from life, it gives it weight. When people hear the word immortality, they usually imagine one thing: living forever as the same person, the same memories, the same identity, the same self continuing endlessly after death. Richard Feynman did not believe in that kind of immortality. Not because he was cynical, not because he dismissed human meaning, but because he trusted nature more than comforting ideas. Feynman didn't believe in religious immortality, a soul separated from the body, living forever somewhere else. What he believed in was something quieter and far more certain, the immortality of nature. From Feynman's point of view, you are not an isolated being. You are not something separate from the universe, temporarily visiting it. You are made from it. Every atom in your body was born in the heart of a star. Every bit of energy in you obeys the same laws that govern galaxies. Nothing in you is foreign to the cosmos. You live inside a story much larger than yourself. And that changes the meaning of immortality completely. Feynman would say, you don't live forever as a person, but the things that make you possible absolutely do. Your atoms are ancient. They existed long before your name was spoken. They will exist long after your name is forgotten. And during this brief moment in cosmic time, those atoms have arranged themselves as you. That arrangement is not permanent, and it was never meant to be, but it is real, and it is rare. This is where Feynman's view becomes deeply human. He believed that life has value not because it lasts forever, but because it does not. Think about a flower. A flower blooms for a single season, then it fades, then it disappears. We don't say the flower's life was meaningless because it ended. We say it was beautiful because it bloomed at all. Its value comes from its brief existence, from the fact that it appeared, opened itself to the world, and then returned to the earth. Feynman saw human life the same way. You are not important because you are eternal. You are important because you are temporary. The universe has existed for nearly 14 billion years, and only for a tiny fraction of that time has it been able to produce beings that can think, wonder, and ask questions. Beings that can look at the universe and try to understand it. That is you. From this perspective, immortality is not about preserving the self. It is about belonging to something ongoing. You don't escape nature at death. You dissolve back into it. Your individuality ends, but your connection does not. And that idea removes a great deal of fear, because death is no longer a fall into nothingness. It is a return to the larger process that made you possible. Feynman never promised that consciousness survives forever. He never softened reality with illusions, but he offered something stronger than comfort: honesty. And honesty reveals something surprising. You don't need to live forever to matter. You matter now because this configuration of atoms, energy, and awareness will never happen again in exactly the same way. The universe will continue, but this moment of consciousness is unique. And that is why Feynman cared so deeply about curiosity, why he valued joy, play, and asking questions, why he believed that understanding reality doesn't make life cold, it makes it precious. So when we talk about immortality through Feynman's eyes, we are not talking about escaping death. We are talking about understanding our place. You are not a mistake in the universe. You are one of its expressions. A temporary pattern, a brief flame, a moment where the universe became aware of itself. And when that moment ends, nothing essential is lost. Nature continues. Energy continues. Atoms continue their journey. And the fact that they once formed you is already extraordinary. So the question is no longer, will I live forever? The real question becomes,
there is a line Richard Feynman once said, half joking, half serious, that reveals a lot about how he lived. I'd hate to die twice. It's so boring. What did he mean by that? He didn't just mean physical death. He meant something worse. Living a life where you stop being curious, where you stop asking questions, where you stop feeling alive long before your body actually dies. To Feynman, that was the real tragedy. Because if death is unavoidable, if this life truly has an ending, then the worst thing you can do is live as if you were never really here. So the question becomes urgent. If life is short, how should you live it? Feynman's answer was not about success, money, or fame. It was about engagement. He wanted to live fully, to ask more questions, to doubt more deeply, to laugh more honestly, to learn simply because learning itself was joyful. He didn't wait for permission to be curious. He didn't wait until he had all the answers. He understood something many people forget. You don't need certainty to live deeply. You need curiosity. If life is temporary, then postponing it makes no sense. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait for approval from people who are just as unsure as you are. Because tomorrow is not guaranteed, and meaning does not come later. It comes now. Feynman refused to live by borrowed standards. He didn't care how things were supposed to be done. He cared about whether they were true, interesting, and alive. And that attitude applies far beyond science. If you love something, say it. If you're curious about something, explore it. If a question scares you, it's probably worth asking. Too many people live carefully, as if life were a rehearsal, as if there will be another version where they finally speak honestly, finally try seriously, finally become themselves. But this is not a rehearsal. Your atoms are on loan from the universe. Your energy is passing through this body only once. This exact configuration, you, has never existed before and will never exist again. And knowing that should not make you anxious. It should make you bold. Feynman believed that life doesn't come with built-in meaning, and instead of finding that depressing, he found it liberating. Because if meaning is not handed to you, you are free to create it. You create meaning by paying attention, by being honest about what you don't know, by choosing curiosity over fear, by refusing to die twice. The first death is unavoidable. The second one is a choice. You die the second time when you stop wondering, when you stop caring, when you stop engaging with the mystery of being alive. So if life is short, don't make it small. Ask questions that don't have easy answers. Laugh at things that are genuinely funny. Learn things that don't immediately pay off. Care deeply, even if it means risking disappointment. Because this moment, right now, is the only moment where the universe is arranged as you. And that makes your existence meaningful without needing eternity. Feynman didn't promise us an afterlife, but he showed us something better, a way to live that doesn't need one. So don't live like you'll get a second draft. Don't save your curiosity for later. Don't postpone being alive. Because if you already know life is short, then the answer is clear. Live awake. Live curious. Live honestly. And whatever happens after, you can face it knowing you didn't die twice.
Richard Feynman never gave us a clear answer about what happens after death. He didn't promise heaven. He didn't warn about hell. He didn't offer comforting stories about eternity. But what he gave us was something far more powerful, a reason to live right now. By understanding atoms, energy, and nature, Feynman showed us that life doesn't need to be endless to be meaningful. It only needs to be real. You don't need forever to ask good questions. You don't need an afterlife to love deeply. You don't need certainty to live honestly. You are here for a short time, and that is exactly why this moment matters. If this video made you pause, if it made you think differently about death, life, or your place in the universe, then it has already done its job. And now, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and answer this question. Do you think death gives life meaning or takes meaning away? There is no right or wrong answer, only honest ones. If you enjoy deep thinking, science mixed with philosophy, and ideas inspired by thinkers like Richard Feynman, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who enjoys asking big questions. Because curiosity is not a weakness, it's how we stay alive, even knowing life is short. Thank you for watching, and remember, you don't need eternity to matter. You only need to live while you're here. See you in the next video.